and welcome to Irish Roots. Today we are going to be joined by Connor and Dara Buckley for a conversation about their lives and about their mother, Christine. Hi guys,
Hi,
Hey
Grace.
Grace. Hey Connor.
how
Hey,
are
Dara.
you doing?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Great, thanks.
Awesome. So I'll let you guys kick off.
How are you getting on? Did you get your haircut?
Did a little shaver myself there. You got a nice trim for your nice fade going on there. Couldn't
Yeah.
play.
So tell me.
Sorry.
Sorry, you go ahead.
So here's the first question. I'll read it out to you. Can you share a little bit about what you both do? I don't know, do you want to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay, so I'm Dara. I'm a recruiter for Indeed. So I recruit kind of legal, marketing, tech, HR, finance roles for internal opportunities within Indeed. And yeah, I suppose I've been in the recruitment game for maybe 10 years or so. I think we're quite fortunate the last couple of companies I work for have really good and genuine platforms to try and make our hiring and our recruitment strategy as diverse and open as possible. So we really try and hone in on that, and that's a global remit that comes down from the top. And the last couple of companies I work for, but definitely very much so, and Indeed, thankfully, the recruitment and diversity hiring is excellent there. So obviously, I have a strong, I suppose, interest around kind of mixed heritage and mixed cultural backgrounds and where people are coming from, and an interest in traveling and stuff like that. So I think our parents have kind of always encouraged us to explore ourselves and explore the world and that type of stuff. So yeah, that's really me in a nutshell. Over to you, Connor.
So I'm Connor, and I was working with a company called Press Up for 10 years. I was head of sales and business development there. I actually recently just resigned in the last month to explore new opportunities. So I'm looking at one or two new businesses at the moment, which is really exciting and liberating. And yeah, other than that, I've been in hospitality all my life, and it's been a great time. Obviously, it's been tough in the last year because of what's happened with COVID, but I've really enjoyed it. So yeah. What was it like growing up? Well, I have to say, I think we were blessed. Firstly, Darren and I often talk about, we came from a family with so much love. Our mum, Christine Buckley, was a campaigner. She was a social activist. She was definitely responsible. She had a big hand in exposing a lot of the institutional abuse that went on I guess people might say mothers and baby homes, but in orphanages. So I think the mother and baby home scandals, a lot of that stuff would have happened or would have been exposed due to my mum's documentary she brought out in the 90s called Dear Daughter. So we're fortunate in the sense that we great parents, are really loving, really supportive, but also when anytime we did encounter any kind of racist abuse, our mum would have really would have helped us by saying, look, the world's different, everyone's different, and that's what makes the world an amazing place. So she was a really inspirational character. I think I always say to Dara and Reese, even before this kind of movement's all kicked off, that I've often said to Dara, I'm so fortunate to have him as a brother, because I think when you're the only dark guys in the playground or dark guys in school or people who look different, to have someone that's so like you, I really feel blessed to have Dara as an older brother. He was so supportive of me, and yeah, just never felt lonely ever. So I think we were blessed,
Yeah, I think growing up, we definitely had, we were definitely very, very fortunate growing up, and our parents had a great marriage. We have an older sister who's been great with us as well. Me and Connor went to all the same schools, played football together all the way growing up. We were quite, I suppose, sociable and sporty, and I think that's always good if you're a guy growing up in school. I definitely think primary school, looking back, primary school was probably the age that myself and Connor, maybe I'm sure most mixed people growing up, have a bit of an identity tug of war in the brain. You're trying to figure out. That's I think the first opportunity where you're going into an environment that's kind of cliquey, and you're trying to figure out, who are you? Are you sporty? Are you the clever guy? Are you, what are you? And I remember trying to wrestle with that kind of concept in my brain for a lot of maybe months or years about kind of who am I and what am I about, and how do I identify myself, not necessarily as a heritage thing, but more as maybe just a person and a personality, and it's probably a bit of heritage in there as well. So, but I think growing up, we definitely got stick about having curly hair and being called, collywog and poo face and N-word and all that type of stuff. It wouldn't have been a daily thing now. We'd be lying if we said it was a daily thing, but it definitely happened every couple of weeks, and it was definitely very confusing when you're growing up and you're trying to figure out your identity, and people are spitting these insults at you and you don't really even understand them. So I think that was more confusing than it was, scary or terrifying, and it was just just confusing, especially because
so it's interesting on that there. You've got if you're black, you're black, and if you're white, you're white. But because we're in this our mum was black, our dad was white, and so we're mixed, where you say mixed heritage, mixed race, whatever it is. And you're in this space whereby when you're growing up, you kind of thought you're white, Irish names, Connor and Dara Buckley. You kind of maybe thought you were white. And technically, mum's dad was black, but her mum was white. So technically we were like a quarter. So I remember someone telling me before, well, your parents are you're half caste. So and I was like, well, no, because I'm not. I know that term, and by the way, I know it really upsets people, but that's what people used to obviously say, especially in the 90s. And so you're half caste, and then you're nearly a quarter caste, because you're only technically a quarter. So I was like, well, that makes me more white. So nearly I felt a bit white when I was young, really young. And then I realized I wasn't white. I was mixed heritage. And then I actually felt like really proud to be black and said that I'm black. So when you think of it, it is kind of confusing, because
when was the turning point for you where you went from like being really proud of owning the kind of your black heritage?
Really interesting. I think it definitely helps that, so when we were younger, Dad would collect us from school, or say Dad might collect us from school one day, or drop us at football, and you're definitely more comfortable because people wouldn't stare the way they would at mum. So that's like from the age of like 6 to or 5 to maybe 11 or 12. And then I guess as you get older, I remember being in UCD and doing the speech about being black, and I think that kind of slightly helped. And that was gone for election for something, so it was kind of like a Martin Luther King speech. And then I think later on, I remember I obviously grew my afro a couple of years ago, so then I just started referring to myself as being black, because I just said, look, people definitely think I'm black, and I just in the last while, I guess I did. Even we spoke about it last year. The last year or two, I kind of just felt like I am black. I've got my hair. My hair was a little bit curlier. Don't know. That's how I just felt. But I think it would be fair to say that mixed heritage, and people describe me as mixed heritage, but I'm way more comfortable saying I'm black now than I was 30 years ago. But it is a difficult dilemma for people to be in when you're a person of color, and that you've got a background where your parents, one parent's white, one parent's black. It really is difficult, and it's only in the last year or two that you start really thinking about it like this.
Yeah, I remember primary school, like as you say, mum would come and collect us from school. Primary school, so you're 6, 7, 8, or whatever it is, and mum could be primary school, and you'd hear the car coming up the driveway, because we were always the last to be collected. So you'd hear the drive, and I remember subconsciously going, I hope it's Dad, and not mum, because when mum comes up and collects you, and like she's this big, colorful, powerful personality, but the lads in the playground are sniggering underneath their bread, or sniggering underneath their hands at mum, and you kind of feel a bit embarrassed. But I remember being really confused with that. And you remember if Pops comes up and collects us, they're not going to be sniggering at us. So it's a safe. It's almost like a safety thing. It's a safety thing with your brain, and then that goes back to the struggle of trying to identify with like who are you and why. Why are you like that? But then you're just a kid trying to figure it all out. But I think like myself, yourself, and Cleena, our sister, we're all kind of different shades, you know. So Cleena looks a little bit Spanish, more Spanishy. You look a little bit more African. You've got a little bit maybe more African hair than I would have, and I'm kind of a little bit in the middle, you know. So
and it's interesting because Cleena wouldn't have received any racism growing up whatsoever. But so I don't know how she felt about mum collecting her from school, because in some ways, because he said she looks more Spanish. So, but then I guess we're really proud of mum. Maybe that helps as well. We're so proud of mum, what she achieved. So maybe, and we're actually, because she was so strong and she never hid away from her color. Because I think sometimes you hear people like have to make themselves invisible in a way, you know, so they don't get started on, or they don't get name called, or whatever it is. So they make themselves visible, especially in America. Obviously, you don't want the police harassing you. Where mum was like, you know, chest out, really confident. And I think that was a brilliant example for us, because she wasn't embarrassed whatsoever about.
Yeah, I definitely remember being like early on in my life being in awe of her confidence, just kind of going, her confidence is just unbelievable. I really want that confidence.
Yeah, confidence is unbelievable.
Okay, there's another question here. I'll read this out. Will I? Your mum was an amazing woman. She left a great legacy for you both and your sister. Can you talk a bit about her life, starting maybe with her early life? So I'll start off. Yeah, so mum, I suppose later on in life she became a little bit more publicly well known, but she's starting off in history. I suppose a quick recap. So she was left in an industrial school very early on. I think she was a couple of months old. She spent the bones of 18 years there. It was a horrific industrial school. Everybody in the place was beaten regularly, treated like animals. It was really, really, really horrendous. And when she thankfully found a family that would adopt her, and she was able to get herself educated and put herself through nursing school and find that and get a family together. She got some, phenomenal years, but at the back of her mind, she always wanted questions, and she wanted the people who ran that school and other schools throughout Ireland to have accountability. She knew that this wasn't just the one and only industrial school in Ireland. There was hundreds of them through Ireland and the UK, and probably throughout Europe and the US. And we all know now that there was, and there was, systemic abuse that all through the hierarchies, they all knew about it. The guards knew about it. It was all hidden away. The public would have known a little bit about it as well. There's no way they wouldn't have. They would have heard the screams from the kids in the industrial school. If I was an next door neighbor to those industrial schools, no way they could have drowned that out, all that screaming and crying. So and you would have heard, you easily would have heard the abuse. So there was, she was very, very confused, and she was very, very angry that she wasn't valued as a human being, and she was left by her parents in this industrial school, and the authorities who were supposed to be in charge of protecting her did the exact opposite. So she went on a campaign and a crusade to try and right those wrongs and get some justice, and also to set up a center for healing and education, so other people who went through that horrific experience would find some vindication and would have a shared community and family, and be able to avail of some counselling paid by the state to really get their lives back and start the healing. So I think the momentum of that builds when you've got more and more support. The momentum of that builds, and she got some public recognition, and she got a few awards for that. She got an Ireland Volunteer of the Year award and a European Volunteer of the Year award, and that spurred her on to kind of continue the campaigning. And and we were incredibly proud. Obviously, we grew up knowing everything about the industrial school from an early age, and really were just in awe of mum's ferocity to try and get justice for people that were in those industrial schools and get compensation for them, which thankfully she did in the end. So yeah, she passed away a couple of years ago. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if the audience might know that, but yeah, she passed away a couple of years ago, and obviously that was tough, like it is for any kid saying goodbye to their mum. But it's great that people do remember, and hopefully whoever's watching the video today might remember a little bit more as well, which was always nice to have in your heart. Yeah, I don't know if you've anything else to add there, Connor.
I think you're spot on with all that. I always thought it was interesting that she believed in, education. So, our centre for, as Dara was saying, for healing and education, she believed that the best way to, I guess, to better yourself was to try and educate yourself as much as possible. So they put on a range of classes in her centre, from everything from acting classes to art classes to maths. And there's some really great stories from people who progressed from the centre who would have come in and not known maybe even the alphabet. And I also think when you've been a victim of abuse like that, you feel like somehow you're embarrassed, you're the problem with it, and or that you won't be believed. And she believed people, and it's amazing when you go into her centre. But also, Stara was saying, it's amazing, like, being even asked to speak about her, because when you lose someone so important to you in life, often it can be forgotten about. So we're very fortunate that people always ask us about her, and it's a great thing to talk about. She originally, when she started her campaign, that they were saying, like, she originally just wrote to the nun who had abused her, just to get, as part of her counselling, just to get the nun to apologise so that she could get closure. And when the nun sent back a terrible letter, that's when she went on, the Gay Byrne show in 1992. And I feel like back then, as much as we knew it was a big deal, I can only, and I'd love to say it to her now, like, the bravery she would have had to not only confront the Catholic Church, one of the biggest institutions in Ireland, the government, who was so closely linked with the Catholic Church, especially back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and to confront both of them and to tell her story, like, the bravery she needed for that, and the courage, and she did it as a black woman as well. So not only did she have to come out and say all that, but as a black woman, I'm sure it might have been difficult. I'm sure it was more difficult. And unfortunately, when you do things like that, you do get a huge amount of credit. And as Dara said, you get lots of awards, but you do get people who not only doubt you, but who know what happened to them, but unfortunately have buried it so much in their lives that wish it never was brought up again. But she had some great milestones when, 1999, the Taoiseach Bertie Ahern made a public apology on national TV to all the victims of institutional abuse. And that was great vindication for her. And obviously the Ryan report then in 2010 or 2011 came out. And again, that confirmed everything she had said. And I think those were two historic days for her. Like, I vividly remember coming in being absolutely delighted with that. And that's, like, when the Ryan report comes out, like, that's 30 years of hard work, or 25 years of hard work trying to get that kind of official vindication, redress, compensation for victims of institutional abuse. So is the centre still going, Grace? It is still going. Yeah, they're actually interviewing for a manager at the moment. My dad is very much involved. He's stepping aside, I think, as chairman now, and someone else is stepping in now. But yeah, Dara and I would do an annual meeting with the board, and it's sad, because those people, it is like a second home. It's maybe like a home that they never had. So those victims of institutional abuse, when you go into the centre and you meet the survivors, like, they've some absolutely horrific stories, and it's just brilliant that they have each other under one roof and they can feel really comfortable and they feel like they're in a safe environment. But it's a shame that, when something like COVID hits, that's when that centre is closed, that there was phone calls, there was weekly phone calls going into a lot of survivors, but it's a shame that something like that is closed, because it's so important to them.
Yeah, and there's a good point made from Grace. So if anybody wants to know a little bit more about the centre, you can Google it. So Christine Buckley, a Centre for Education and Support, nice and short, very easy to remember. Christine Buckley Centre for Education and Support. It was called the Ashling Centre, but you can look it up on Google, and there's an email address and a direct line number there. Obviously, it's closed now with COVID situation, but they are still always accepting, new applications and new clients, and they do really have some phenomenal services there. Hopefully, they'll be opening back up. And hopefully during the summer, I think if the COVID rollout, the vaccine rollout keeps going well, hopefully they'll be open back up in the next couple of weeks. So if people do want to get involved and find out more information, please do jump on Google or Bing. No preference.
Not Bing.
Bing, Microsoft's version of Google.
Oh wow, that's hilarious.
Can't just be plugging Google. Yeah, we're out of questions at the moment, are we? No. So where are you from, Connor? That's always an interesting question, isn't it? I still get asked that. Where are you from?
Oh, can you tell us about Dear Daughter? So the documentary made in 1993, no, 1995, and it was about our mum meeting her dad for the first time. Well, she didn't actually meet him at the end of the show. It's about her life, and it's about what happened to her in Golden Bridge, which is the institution where she was brought up. And it's about them making rosary beads, and eventually she writes a letter to her dad, and her dad wrote back to her, and the title of the letter was Dear Daughter. And that's where the documentary ends. So I know from chatting to people in RTE, it's a really well regarded doc show. I know it's been shown in schools in Ireland and in different countries as well. And it probably nearly needed a follow up documentary because a lot happened since then. But it was quite powerful. When she passed away, it was played in RTE. And again, it's one of these documentaries actually that kind of it's nearly sadder the more you watch it there, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched it fully. I know they played it after Mum's funeral there. I think they left it on RTE iPlayer for a few weeks. And then a couple of years, maybe just 2 or 3 years ago, they played it again. They left it up. I haven't watched it fully since I was young. I just, I find it very, very hard. It's very hard to watch it. I think it's very hard for anybody to watch it, but obviously ourselves now, Mum's gone. She's so young in the documentary, and, what she's gone through. It's, I do think she could potentially still be around now if she didn't have such an awful upbringing, because the trauma that keeps with you when you're a kid like that, it's devastating on your brain. It's devastating on your physical development and growth. So, I do think if she had a better start to her life, she could still be here and playing with our kids and playing with her grandkids, which is always a little bit of a sad note, unfortunately, but it's a hard documentary to watch. But I do think that more and more people have definitely seen it. More and more young people are coming up asking me about it. Maybe so. It's definitely had a bit of a resurgence the last couple of years, and it's very, very well made, even for its time. You go back nearly 20 years now. It's very well made and edited and stuff like that, and it's a good watch.
Do you know what I really loved actually about Mum was that so sometimes people, especially in America and even in the UK, I've heard them say, when you have a black child or a mixed heritage child, that you have to say to them, by the way, just so you know, you might be discriminated against, you might be bullied in school, you might hear these types of names, you might be stopped by the police even when you're young. Don't be out late as late as your white friends, because you might get put in, you might be put in difficult situations. And Mum never ever said anything like that to us. And I think that gave us an opportunity to be really express ourselves and to be confident, and maybe to lack of self-awareness in a sense that we were just go out there and try and do the best you can no matter what it is. And there's no chips on our shoulder or anything like that. So say we didn't get picked for a team, or a teacher kicked us, we didn't get on well with a teacher, or didn't get a job, or whatever it was, we never went, geez, that could have been the color of our skin.
Definitely, yeah. There was never any built-in apprehension that we're going to be treated differently because we look differently. Mum was always everyone's different. No two people are the same. Everybody's different. So and that's a good thing. That's a great thing. So we never had a thing where oh, this has happened to me because I'm dark.
Yeah.
But unless it was obviously something blatantly racist, somebody's definitely called me the N-word because I'm dark. But it was never a paranoia like it would be maybe in other countries like South Africa or the US or Australia, where racism is blatant and it's in your face and it's systemic. We didn't really, we were blessed. Unfortunately, we didn't really have it like that growing up, which was a plus.
Definitely.
Yeah. Can you share some more things that she gifted to you? Her confidence. Well, definitely a sense of humor. Mum, one thing I suppose she wouldn't have been appropriate to you know, a lot of her interviews that she did on TV and YouTube and stuff, she did some great interviews still on YouTube, is that she had a cracking sense of humor. She wouldn't have obviously, just talking about serious subjects, so that wouldn't necessarily come across in a lot of her interviews, but her sense of humor, she was great fun growing up, absolute messer. I remember parties in the house, and she'd be the life and soul at the parties. You know, all the crack would be running through mum, the drink would be flowing. It was just, you know, she was just great fun. And even, you know, we got a little bit older and we were able to have, you know, you're 18, 19, 20, you're able to have a couple of drinks with your parents on holidays or in the house or whatever. All our friends used to love having drinks with mum. She'd be really, like, you know, she'd be really genuinely asking about what, you know, how they're getting on, and are they okay growing up, or any girlfriend difficulties, or, you know, she'd have a genuine natural interest in our mates, and our mates loved her, you know. And she was just really funny, always taking the mick. Yeah, I think you know, we definitely got our quirky sense of humor from mum, and definitely hope to think we got some confidence from mum as well. She definitely had that bulletproof confidence. Just, you know, just that, yeah, she'd just walk into a room of strangers and just not be bothered at all.
I remember bringing her to an award show. It was a lunch event, and it was like on a Tuesday, and it was for like a nightclub award, and there was oh God, there was like guest speakers there, like Dave McWilliams, the economist, and there's all these people there, and just walked up to them, and just like everyone would have left them alone. She walked up to them, chatting to them for the whole night. Didn't know them. I was like, "Did you know those guys?" Like, no. You know, having great crack with them later on, and you know, this event went on from 1 o'clock till say 6 or 7, and after that, everyone just goes home. And she was like, "No, we're back out in town." And that night, she was trying to go to like Lily Bordello's at like 1 a.m. on a Tuesday, and I was like, "Mum, we're going home. Like, we're going home." But everyone who she met, as Dara said, she just said it's infectious. She genuinely was interested in people, and she'd remember things about people, you know, and she'd wonder how, like, she'd ask you how people are getting on. And I actually think the love of people is definitely something we've inherited, where you're genuinely genuinely, I think there's a real empathy towards people, you know, what they go through. And sometimes it might hit me straight away, but then sometimes I'll be like, I can nearly hear mum's voice going, "Ah, the poor devil, sure, they didn't have a chance." I actually turn the other cheek sometimes in that one. Even in work, if someone's annoying me or whatever it was, I'd be like, you'd hear, "Oh, I should have poor fecker doesn't have this or that." And I kind of, it's actually, and it's hit me more even as the years have gone on, where my empathy towards people's situation, like I've said to one or two friends now over the years where they've done stuff and I'm going, I don't really like that, or they might have slagged someone off or something like that. And it's definitely my mum's voice there, you know. So unbelievable sense of humor, unbelievable joy and passion for life, love people, but like she just had this where she really cared about people, you know.
Yeah, great natural empathy for people. Yeah, I always wanted to help people out. You know, if she thought anyone was in a jam or stuck, big or small, she'd always try and help. You know, even she help our cousins out and stuff like that. She was just brilliant.
Yeah, massive heart.
What was her favorite music?
Anything. I think she danced about anything. Like,
I love Michael Jackson. I remember we used to play all the Michael Jackson stuff in the cassette player, and then we had like brass and like anything that was upbeat and energetic and lively. She didn't really like sad music.
When she was close to passing away, I made this kind of video of her life, her photos, montage, and I played Pharrell's "Happy." And I remember her with the oxygen mask on, and she was like looking at it, and the music kicked in, and she started dancing, and like it's actually quite upsetting at the time, because like she wanted to get up, but she couldn't get out of bed, but she was like this, like dancing to the music, and she, you know, she's great, she's actually really good rhythm, and she loved it. Anytime I put that song on, I think every day she used to come in and play the video and play the song, and she'd like be up dancing, and sometimes she'd be tired, so she'd just like move her shoulder, you know, the way, and then other times she'd move her hands a little bit, you know.
And Take That as well. They do their comeback tour.
Oh, she loved Take That.
Yeah,
I got her tickets to come back to her and one of her best pals. Jeez, that's a great memory. She loved Take That. Yeah, she thought that was amazing. You were asking.
It's very questionable music still. I know he still likes Spice Girls.
You're S Club 7 on steps.
I think you were the Criss Cross. You still have the Criss Cross greatest hits, isn't it? Oh, we were crazy music. We went to like all sorts of crazy stuff. We had a this is very funny. We were in a rap group growing up. Myself, Connor, and two of our friends, Rory and Cormac. I know this is embarrassing, but sure, why not? It was called NRG, New Rap Generation. Do you remember that?
Let's talk about Dara's action in Official Boy Band.
No. Let's edit this. You have to edit this out sympathetically now, guys.
Script was in it. This guy called Ian Colligan and Dara Buckley. Tell us about and in fairness, this was brilliant because Dara wanted to leave school to make it in the big time. And Mum goes, "No problem, Dara. You actually should tell the story because you're gonna have to earn some money though while you're waiting for the big tunes to come in." And she gave you the bucket and spade or the bucket and ladder.
I don't think she did.
She tells us a story.
I never left school. The other two lads left school, and I was like, I think leaving school is a little bit premature. We hadn't even had a record deal, so like, let's wait till we get a record deal before we leave school. But the lads wanted to leave school anyway, so I was like, no, I think I'll stay in school and at least get an education.
She
said, okay. I was like, fame isn't going anywhere. It'll be there for me when I finish school.
So she tells a story that she had the ladder and a mop, or a ladder and a bucket with a sponge in it, because she was going to make you go door to door cleaning windows in order to make money while you were trying to make it.
She definitely didn't do that, but she definitely said tell the story about 100 times like she did. But it's a great story.
Would you like to hear Dara's rapping the song? Dara did a rap on the song. Would you like to hear it?
Let me pull it up on YouTube here, will I? I think it was #1 in Kazakhstan in 1965.
The name of the song was "Love You Forever," very original, and written by Danny. To be fair, it's a good song. It was catchy. Speaking of catchy,
you love doing the rap part, don't you? Do you want to do the rap part?
Baby, please catch me. I don't know what to do. You'll finish it there.
I can't. My memory.
I was actually jealous because I wasn't let into the band. So there you go. I couldn't sing, rap, or dance.
It was a 3-piece. We couldn't have any more than three of us in it. It was a summer. It was a summer night stream for a few months in the summer. Thankfully, there's no footage back then. There was no smartphones back then.
We need the rap, by the way, just so you know.
No, it's not happening. Connor was a phenomenal dancer, though. He's really good at the Prodigy walk. I don't know if there's enough room in the camera to do this, because I could get the Prodigy on YouTube here if you wanted to do the Prodigy walk, Connor. Identity. Let's chat about identity. So I suppose, yeah. Identity is the funny thing. I suppose we touched it at the start. I mean, I don't really... It's a bit of a minefield, this identity topic. So
I think we're Irish first and foremost, and I think that's really important to say. So we're really proud that we're Irish. So we don't we've always just lived in Ireland. We're Irish. So when someone says to you kind of about identity, we just kind of say we're Irish. Oh, that's what I feel like. I'm Irish.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the hybrid multi-identification stuff. Just me personally, but it's to each their own. So like, I definitely. If I had to identify with something, it would be Irish. I don't identify with like multi-hybrid, loads of different things chopped up into one. Like, I just identify as being Irish.
Mum would identify with being Irish as well, but she never lived in London, even though she's born in London. And she never lived in like Nigeria, which is where her dad was from. And I remember when people would have said, "Well, where are you from?" to her or whatever, she would have started speaking. She spoke to them in Irish. Anyone ever said anything racist to her, she came back to the slurs in Irish, So
I used to say, I remember that Amadon. Somebody would say something stupid to her, and she'd just say Amadon, and they'd be like, "Oh,
no way." It's hilarious.
Which obviously means clown. For anyone who doesn't know, it means clown in Irish, or fool in Irish. Which I think is just a really clever slapback, yeah. Yeah. Have we finished that one? So we've been grappling with the word mixed race
Yeah. So
or mixed heritage.
you know what? I think there's a myth of race, and we're all one race, the human race. And I think honestly, if everyone just thought about it like that, they were all one race, the human race, there wouldn't be these divides, there wouldn't be these socioeconomic divides, there wouldn't be this hierarchy, and that like, and I honestly think that honestly, no one thinks like that. No one actually thinks that we're all just one race, the human race. Everyone like, I don't know if you Google it, does Google even have the right answer in that one? But if you think of it like that we're all just human, I think that would people would change their whole, because it's like race is like a social construct where you're. I think like I've read a little bit about it, and then there's a lot of it with my own personal feelings. But it's like it's been created to divide nations, and once you start dividing nations, and dividing people because they look different, it nearly goes back to like you know God, I forget it. Oh, like
It goes back to prehistoric biblical times, doesn't it?
sorry, technologies. They used to say if your head was bigger than other people's head, you're clever. This kind of stuff, like
Chronology.
technology. So there was this kind of like all these theories back in the day, and you're kind of there going, "This is actually what's created these issues," And
it's like we're engineered as humans to kind of like be, going back to prehistoric biblical times and Egyptian times. Like we're pre-engineered to be cliquey and to have different pockets in society that's better or perceived to be better than others, whether it's to do with wealth or prestige or how you look or whatever it is. It's like we've been engineered.
Because there is a caste in India.
Yeah, look at the caste system in India. Perfect example. Like, and I don't know why. Even you see that even kids going into preschool and senior infants and stuff like that. They automatically cliques form automatically because you associate with someone who's like you, or you warm or you get familiar to someone like you. And if someone's not like you, you're apprehensive and wary of someone if they're not like you, whether they don't speak like you, whether they don't look like you, whether they don't act like you. We box ourselves in. I don't know how we break that necessarily. I have some ideas about how we break it later in life.
I think we talk about that principle of being everyone's different and to try and embrace that, because that would get people past homophobia. And I know this is a bit utopian talking. Well, I think it would climb those hurdles that where you think, okay, well, like the world's gonna have different people in it, gender neutral people, whatever it is, that if you're to be accepting and I guess be open minded to understanding where someone's come from, because a lot of it comes from ignorance, and not wanting to be moved out of, I don't know, not wanting to change your mindset. So I think if people have an open mind about things, personally, I probably would say mixed heritage is. I just don't like the word mixed race anymore, because it's like there's two different races. And there's two different species of human, and there's only one species, and it's of human, and we're all human. So I don't know. That's how I feel about it. And I guess mixed heritage is the closest for me, because although I know I'm not lived in Africa, I've an African heritage in the background, and I've an Irish heritage in the background.
Anything else to share about mum? I suppose just to, if anyone who maybe hasn't heard about mum, and I would encourage people to look her up on YouTube, Christine Buckley, on YouTube or online. Obviously, if you're interested, it's a really interesting story, and it feeds into the most recent story about the mother and baby homes. They're not directly linked, but there's a lot of overlap in there. So if you are interested in that topic and you would like to know a little bit more about that, or a little bit more about kind of mixed heritage people growing up in Ireland, definitely do look her up. There's loads of content online. So yeah, that's probably all I could add.
I guess I will close off the conversation with saying thank you to both of you for joining us. Thanks for sharing with us about your mom. She was an absolute powerhouse and an inspiration to not just you guys, not just me, not just the whole of Ireland, but to the world, if you ask me. And it's been an absolute privilege to have chatted to the two of you. I guess before we go, just the final question is, is there anything else that you want the people who are listening to you both to know about your mom, or about you two, or about life in Ireland and what it is to be Irish, I guess.
I suppose on a message to any, I suppose, younger viewers watching the video is there's a lot of content going around, and there's a lot of negative and hateful stuff going around. But try your best to stay away from that, and try your best to kind of find happiness within yourself and within your own heart and your own mind. And it's very, very easy to fall into the quicksand of kind of hate and negativity and this us versus them type of stuff, and it's just a lose-lose situation, I think. So trying your best to keep your mind free, keep your heart free, keep it full of kind of positivity, no matter what stupid stuff might happen to you during the week and whatever you're involved in. Just try and keep your head up and try and keep yourself happy.
And also just on, I guess, for our particular audience, that one thing I really noticed in the last 2 years is that the amount of talented Black and mixed heritage people in Ireland is incredible, covering so many different fields. So sports, music, acting, academic, and I guess to feel really proud of that, to be really, really proud of that. And I think in the future, hopefully, there'll be a lot more as well, because I think having these role models, certainly growing up for me, having people like Paul McGrath as a role model really helped, so I think the fact that there's way more, we need more and more. You can see RTE putting more Black people, even the toy show, there was a Black girl on the toy show, and I think having that people that you can identify with on TV and you can go, look, I can get there if that person got there. So I think that's great to have high achievers. I think they need to be. I think the high achievers need to be even projected even higher, and need to be given even a better opportunity. So I think that's happening.
Yeah,
it'd be great to see,
way more.
It's great to see TV programs on Virgin Media Ireland and RTE and wherever else, with more mixed race actors like they kind of have been doing in the UK for a couple of years. It would be great to see, so people can recognize them on TV and start building that bond and building that self-confidence in themselves.
Yeah, 100%. I actually, like, one of my favorite lines that I say all the time is, if you can see it, you can be it. And
I love it. On your email,
I literally have it on all my emails. If you ever get anything, correspondence from me, that's what it'll say. If you can see it, you can be it. Because I grew up in a time where, well, we grew up around the same time, but where I didn't see. I'm actually an actor, and I never saw people who looked like me on the stage or on the TV when I grew up, and I actually left Ireland and moved to Chicago. Because there were no roles for me. There were no roles for a mixed race or a mixed heritage. Still working with that language stuff here in Ireland, and now since I've been back, they're seeing, like you said, they're putting more stuff on, and they're featuring it more. And I think having conversations like this just proves that we need to do it even more, and it needs to continue, and it needs to grow, and like you said, it needs to go even higher, and there needs to be even more people of color in our media and represented to then bring the younger generations up, seeing people like them and feeling like, oh, I can do that.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, 100%. That's amazing. Great work, Chicago. I love Chicago.
Yeah, it's good. It's a great
city. How long
city.
did you stay there for?
I was there for 6 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And did you do some shows?
Yeah, I did some theater shows, did a few, movies, not big movies, but like a lot of passion projects, a lot of projects where I got to just be like, I remember people, like I used to do my American accent, and people would just be like, no, just do your own accent, like it's cool, you don't have to. And I'd be like, oh wait, I could just use my own voice and look like this and be accepted. Okay, awesome. Nice. Cool.
Yeah. What kind of product are you using to keep the curls?
Oh, this is a whole system, and that's the other thing that I think needs to be brought in here is like everyone being able to access the products to use for their hair, because like I'm used to being in the States and going for the weekly grocery shop and picking up my hair stuff, versus here I have to like either order it online or like go to some random shop down some random street, or just like make a concoction here by myself. So it's just a routine. I learned a lot when I went to the States about how to take care of my curls, because I used to hate them when I was growing up. I just wanted to have straight hair. I either had my hair in braids or I had a relaxer in my hair, and I just wanted to be like the norm. And wearing my hair out now is just like, it's such a badge of honor for me. Like I really see it as my crown. And like, kids, I just want other kids who have hair like this to be like, and I do see it, like I see little girls, like little mixed girls who have their hair like pulled back, or whatever, and they're just looking at me with like this big afro, like in awe, and I'm like, yes, absolutely, we're making change.
So cool. Mum used to go on about loving our curls so much, and we hated them.
We had big curly afros growing up. Like we'd have a haircut once a year. So we'd have these massive big froze. And then later in life, we got to our teenage years, we grew dreadlocks. Me and Connor had dreadlocks.
What? In the hair. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was funny. Connor still has some around his house. Connor got a deposit for his first car from selling them. This is a great story. You like this story, Grace? On the way home from Irish college.
I gotta go, guys, because the baby's calling.
On the way home from Irish college, Connor sold his dreadlocks to basically pay his down payment on his first Maserati.
I actually do have to go.
Maserati. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
I love the crown. I grew an afro about a couple of years ago, and it was so random, Grace. And I like that. That's your crown on your head. It's class.
Yeah, your hair looks great.
Thank you. Oh my God! Like years ago, I literally would have been like, like, don't talk about my hair, and now I'm like, yeah, it is awesome. I love it. So I guess that's it, unless you have anything else that you want to share with us, but I think I've said that to you like 5 times now, so
thanks so much.
Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks
very much. Thanks for having us.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to Irish Roots. Irish Roots is a completely volunteer-led festival. If you can donate, please do. For more information and to see what else is happening, jump over to our website. It's www.iamirish.org. From all of us at I Am Irish, Gurav Mila Mahagut.